Blog Talk
Nok.
Radio.
Nok. The culture spanned the end of the Neolithic Stone Age and the start of the Iron Age in sub-Saharan Africa, and may be the oldest organized society in sub-Saharan Africa. Some current research suggests that it predated the founding of Rome by more than 500 years. Nok was a complex society, a permanent settlements and centers for farming, manufacturing, and it also had a major legal system. But we are left still. Who were the Noks? How the culture developed? And most importantly, what happened to them? There's been an awakening. Have you felt it? You are listening to Dark Matter Radio with your host, Ronnie. Good evening and good morning to those of you around the world. If you're from Nigeria, this is one that you're going to have to hear. If you're from the land of Kemet, the land of the black soil, the land of the black people, dark carbon-based people, this is one that you're going to have to hear. Good morning to those of you that are in Haiti and also in Europe. We also know those in Canada and around the great United States of America. Older than Kemet, a highly advanced, mysterious, ancient civilization, Nok. Now, what does Kemet mean? Let's start from there, because a lot of people have a notion that Kemet is the oldest African civilization on the map. And so there's a lot of things to be said about that. So a lot of there was a post that came in on my radio show called Kemet Heads, and
good deal.
I looked it up and found out some interesting things about Kemet itself. And the person says, I ask all people who are involved in Kemet about Nok, which is West Africa and is the 6,000-year-old older than Kemet. They always draw a blank. Africa is bigger than Kemet. Our knowledge extends far beyond Kemet. Kemet is the result of our great and ancient knowledge, not the source of our knowledge. Nok is just the tip of the iceberg, which is Africa. And I don't like using that word Africa. We can use Ethiopia, the land of darkness, or the dark soil. And the civilization built in South Africa at the location now called Adam's Calendar is 75,000 to 200,000 years old. That is 100 times older than Kemet. Kemet is just one of many of Africa's great nations that led to the building of Kemet. And we also have incredible discoveries that were made in South Africa around 150 kilometers west of Port Melepo. There we find the remains of a large metropolis and measures according to test around 1,500 square kilometers. This ancient city is, according to researchers, part of an even larger community with about 10,000 square kilometers and is believed to have been constructed 160,000 to 200,000 years before Christ. The region is somewhat remote, and the circles have often been encountered by local farmers who assume they were made by some indigenous people in the past. But oddly, no one ever bothered to inquire about or who could have made these circles and these homes. How old were they? This challenge when researchers and author Michael Tanguma, in the association with Johann Henny, a local fisherman and a pilot who looked at these ruins for years and decided to investigate them. Henny had a unique opportunity to see these incredible structures from the air and knew that their significance was not appreciated. So we're talking about some ruins now that were almost 160,000 to 200,000 years older than Kemet itself. Interesting enough, we also have a culture that is about, I would say, anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000 years older than Kemet itself by what modern archaeologists have seen. So Nok has spanned the end of the Neolithic Stone Age and started the Iron Age. And it's interesting. We're going to get into that a little bit as well, right? In sub-Saharan Africa, around the area of Nigeria. And if you're on Dark Matter Radio right now, on Blog Talk Radio, you can see some of the pictures and some of the sculptures that they have of the No people. And you can also see exactly the area that they're around. So, a lot of people talk about ancient Samaria, a lot of people talk about Babylon, but no one talks about a lot of these ancient societies in Africa itself. And one of the things that I really want to press upon people is to remember that this is probably the oldest African society that they have discovered in Africa, which means that they're older than any other Africans that are there in Africa itself. Perhaps maybe they were the first of the first to help them mine for gold. And when we get into it, the discovery of the Nok Culture, and I believe it was 1943, clay shards and a terracotta head were discovered during a tin mining operation on the southern and western slopes of the Hose Plateau in Nigeria. The pieces were taken into archaeological Bernard Fagg, who immediately suspected their importance. He began collecting pieces and excavating, and when he dated the pieces using the new techniques, discovered that colonial ideologies said wasn't possible. An ancient West African society dating back at least 500 BCE, Fagg named this culture N-O-K, Nok, the name of the village near to which the first discovery was made. Fagg continued his studies and subsequently researched at two important sites, Tengra and Suna de Kaya, provided more accurate information on Nok culture. More of the Nok's terracotta sculptures, domestic pottery, stone axes, and other tools and iron implements were discovered. But due to colonial, dismal, and ancient African society, and later that problems facing the newly independent Nigeria in that region remained unstudied. Also, there was a lot of looting on the behalf of Western collectors that compounded the difficulties of this of the entitled learning of the Nok culture. It's very interesting when we talk about the Noks because it was not until the 21st century that this sustained systemic research was carried out on the Nok culture, and the results have been stunning, very stunning. Uh, the most recent finds dated the thermal luminescence testing of radiocarbon dating indicated the Nok culture lasted for around 1200 BCE and 400 before the Common Era and 400 after the Common Era or CE. So a lot of those dates, when you talk about 1200 BCE, is 1200 before Christ. That's what they say, or 400 after the death of Christ, right? And they call it the Common Era. Yet we still do not know how it arose or what happened to it. The sheer volume, as well as the artistic and technological skills seen in the terracotta sculpture, suggest that the Nok culture was a complex society, a very complex society, more complex than any society on Earth at that particular time, probably other than what you might consider to be the Samaritans. Now, the kicker here is that because this is the oldest, what you would call African society, they also have probably some of the oldest genes, but they haven't found, as what I know now, they haven't done any testing, but I do know that in this particular area where they had found almost a Cameroon, Nigeria type area, they did find very old Y chromosomes and some of the oldest Y chromosomes on Earth. But the oldest Y chromosomes on Earth belong to and what you would call an African American male, an original indigenous male in North America, which dates back more than 300 to 375 years from the oldest Y chromosome found in any male on Earth. Now, I bring that up because a lot of people do not associate what they call the New World with what they call the Old World, or the East, considered or comparing it to the West. And because we have such old genes that we're dealing with, this Nok culture is very, very, very interesting because they had a very highly sophisticated way of doing things. They went from, this is really amazing, they went from the Stone Age, imagine this, what you would consider the Stone Age, directly to the Iron Age. And they were already doing smelting work because they were building terracotta, thousands upon thousands of terracotta statues, some as small as 2 to 3 inches, and all the way up to life size and beyond. So when you began to start thinking that they totally skipped the Bronze and the Copper Age and went directly to the Iron Age, that technology that they had to be very, 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 very technical and very advanced. And again, you're talking about a society that was older than Rome by more than 500 years. So by about 4 to 5 BCE, the Noks were also smelting iron and making iron tools. They're also making, because iron, once you know how to do iron, you have to understand this. Once you know how to work with iron or any kind of metals, you can shape it into almost anything that you want. And what happened is that some of the archaeologists disagreed whether this was an implement independent development, and methods of smelting may have derived from the use of kilns and for firing terracotta, or whether the skill was brought south across from the Sahara, and whether they're trying to say there. But the mixture of stone and iron tools found at some of the sites supports the theory that the West African societies, this was a culture, a civilization um, skipped the Copper Age and went directly to the Iron Age. Now you got to remember, in some parts of Europe, the Copper Age lasted for nearly 1,000 years. But in West Africa, but here in the land of what we call Kemet, the land of the dark, rich soil, the land of the dark beings, the land of the carbon-based beings, what we found is that the societies there seem to have transformed from the Neolithic Stone Age straight into the Iron Age, possibly all of them led by the Nok. Now, one of the things that we have to understand is that perhaps maybe they didn't go through the Stone Age. Perhaps maybe they were already in that type of society. And because of some of the new information that are coming out now, could these be the first beings that were either created or that came to the earth with what you would call the Anunnaki or the ancient astronauts that came here to mine gold? Hence, the reason why I read the story earlier of a society that was founded in South Africa for 160,000 to 200,000 years older than any other civilization on Earth, as we know now, because we're starting to learn a lot more about North America and their origins from over there. So there's a lot to think about when it comes down to learning about the Nok and about your past as beings on this earth. So the terracottas of the Nok culture demonstrate the complexity of life and society in that ancient civilization and in those ancient times. But what happened next? It suggests that the Nok eventually evolved into the later Yoruba kingdom of life. The brass and terracotta sculpture of the being cultures show significant similarities with those found at the Nok. But what happened artistically in the 700 years between the end of the Nok and the rise of life is still a mystery. Still a mystery. So, I mean, you hear about the disappearance of cultures. You hear about the disappearance of people. You also hear about the disappearance of civilizations all across the earth. They tend to, there were some in China, India. There were some civilizations here in America. The Mayans are one that come to mind, where they had a really huge civilization, and all of a sudden they just disappeared. The so-called Anasazis, they had a very highly advanced civilization, then all of a sudden they just were just gone. And it seemed as though the Nok kind of went on the same path. But remarkable, this highly advanced and mysterious ancient civilization, the Nok, is interesting because it gives us a good foundation as to where a lot of our information or a lot of our society has come from. And, again, like I said, discovered in 1928, when a wealth of unique terracotta artifacts was unearthed by miners in the southern part of Kaduna, state of central Nigeria. Since then, extensive archaeological excavations and research into the Nok have revealed that they have been the first complex society in West Africa, existing for at least 900 BC until the mysterious disappearance of 200 AD. Very, very interesting, and it's really interesting because when you talk about Kemet and all the things that we know about them and where they're from and what's happening with them, and who they are as people, it gets really interesting because people, all they know, is, this is where we're from. But our history as a great people, as the first civilizations on this earth, um, go much deeper than what anybody can ever think. Because when you have this, you have to have a whole lot of other systems in place. So when somebody's working with terracotta and smelting, and that is their main job, or they're using ironworks and they're creating either weapons, or they're creating all kinds of statues and figurines and pottery and tools, and that is their job. That means that someone else had to really do a lot of the stuff in terms of the cooking, in terms of building houses, in terms of farming, caring for the land. So there had to be a whole society in place in order for that to happen. And one of the other things that they found out about Nok is their judicial system. It is a known fact that the Nok judicial system predates the Western judicial system. Now, when they say that, it means that it predates anything in Europe, anything in the East, India, China, anybody. It predates everyone. And the Nok people created classes of courts used for adjudicating cases, for minor civil cases, such as family disputes and false allegations, to criminal cases such as stealing, murder, adultery. The people believe that every crime attracts a curse which was capable of destroying a whole family and therefore must be uncovered to avoid the consequences. Suspect was brought before an open court for traditional oath taking, which involved standing between two monoliths facing the sun. Most supreme God called Nam. And we'll get into their religion in just a second. The suspect then swore to tell the truth. Cases that cannot be resolved in open court are taken to a higher court, which sits within the enclosed shrine. The court was presided over by the chief priest and various clan heads. Anyone found guilty was fined goat, chicken, and sacrificed to the gods, and local wine for the priest or chief priest. The town would then declare a day of celebration on which the people thank the gods for their grace and successfully resolving the issue and averting doom for people. Very
all personnel
when you talk about
other than the mine equipment.
So it gets into a lot of different things when you talk about
the
history, their society, their schools, their education, and the longevity of how long they live. And because a lot of their artifacts, a lot of archaeologists feel that was based on wood carving, means that their society was probably much, much, much older than what they can determine from the terracotta carbon dating. And that's very significant because these societies could have been around for thousands and thousands of years, such as the societies in North America were around for hundreds of thousands of years. So their religion, what was their religion? Their religion, the Nok civilization believed that there was one supreme God. One supreme God. And this God also rewarded those who were faithful with harvest and children. The supreme god punished those who violated tradition with ancient with accidents and crop failures. The Nok civilization, they also had minor deities, but most people took orders from the supreme god. They also had sculptures of other arts that they created that they used in their religion. Their art that way, and this is the way that they celebrated life. They also celebrated death, and they also celebrated the sun. And a lot of people are becoming to have an understanding that the sun has a lot to do with the transference of souls in our universe. So that's the reason why we're soul people. But that's a story for another day. So, when we get into the Nok and their culture and all that they are, it's interesting how we as a people and as a society don't pay attention to what's going on through history. There are so many interesting things in history that are not taught in our schools, and we really need to get a system of our own as to where we can begin to start teaching and celebrating the history that we really should be known for. And I'll be back right after this. Want to take a ride? You're listening to Dark Matter Radio with your host, Ronnie McLean, on Blog Talk Radio. To reach Ronnie, log on to Blog Talk Radio, look up Dark Matter. You can reach Ronnie on Skype or through the number that is provided. Dark Matter Radio with your host, Ronnie McLean. Older than Kemet, the highly advanced and mysterious ancient civilization known as the Noks. Before we get back in there, there's a few things that I want to start bringing up to you. There's a lot of really great, interesting things that are happening with the United Front Line and indigenous nations of North America. We won't be reporting too much on it because we are now in the process of taking actions, but the process of one nation, many flags, really taking hold, and we are having a lot of people who are joining, and we'll be working together, and we'll be doing a lot of things. We'll be having another response to the UN declarations that I have been putting out, and we're going to be doing that fully as one nation. We also have boundaries, national boundaries that we're going to be bringing up. So a lot of good things. And we're also going to be updating the website, and we're going to be adding a lot more resources on there and places for you to go to be able to get resources and for you to be able to learn about your own particular history and to be able to learn about the politics of your own self, of what's going on with you. We're also going to have, we'll be collecting donations and selling books, etc., in terms of being able to support the efforts that we're doing. So it's going to be incumbent on you to really step up and support your nation, your society. We're also going to be supporting health and safety and welfare with some different products that are going to be coming out as well. One of them is called iGalen. It is something that is coming out very, very soon, and also Body Pro, and a lot of different things that are going to be good for your health and being able to cleanse your body and to put you in a very good state of mind so that way you'll be able to handle all of the different changes that are coming together. So really, really interesting things that are happening. And I'm glad that you and our Dark Matter Radio Program Society, our people out there, are part of this. And you are much appreciated and very much appreciated of being a part of our very special family. So all of you out there that are helping and participating in a lot of the different things, we really do appreciate you. So we'll also be opening up the airways because we're going to be probably changing our formats and going into a 24-hour radio station type format. And lots of good, interesting, great things that are happening. So, one of the things I do have to put on there is, as we're going to get back to the ancient civilization of Nok, is sometimes you have to go back to find out exactly where you came from and to reestablish yourself in order for you to interject yourself into the future. And that's where we're going. We're going to have the most technological, highly advanced society on Earth when it's all said and done, and the healthiest people. We're going to be the envy of the world once again. And yes, so thank you, Dark Matter family, and thank you for everything that you have done in supporting this program up until this point. So back to the Nok. Now, we just got finished talking about their judicial system, their religious system, and as you can see, a lot of the things that were never told to you in your history classes, in your society, about things before ancient Egypt, before the rise of Kemet, before all of these other civilizations that you heard about, because mainly you hear about Rome and you hear about all the Chinese societies, 5,000 years old, and all this other type stuff. All of these societies and all these societies that we're talking about were here well before the presence of any of them that actually came on the face of the earth. So, and when you talk about the Nok society and how they disappeared, it's very interesting because there was a sharp drop in volume of pottery and terracotta and soil layers, suggesting that the once thriving civilization of the Nok population declined fairly rapidly. And that's no different from what happened with some of the ancient civilizations, like the Mayans, here in the United States or in the Americas, Mexico, as we know. But it was, when I talk about the Americas, that's why I kind of studied a little bit. I know the Americas going all the way up from the northern territories of Canada, Alaska, all the way down through the tips of Peru. So that's what that's what the Americas are. So there were a lot of societies that were here on the face of this earth that just disappeared and were eradicated. And, unlike what happened to some of the Egyptian empire where they were conquered, these people had a rapid decline and just disappeared. And no evidence can be found of their existence after 200 AD, nor has any evidence been found which suggests any reasons for their disappearance. They were just gone. Just gone. And it kind of reminds me, everybody always talks about the rapture and all this other type stuff. And, perhaps maybe, again, their ancestors or our ancestors came and removed them from the earth because they had solidified and did everything that they were supposed to have done on this earth to prove themselves to be worthy of a cosmic existence. But then again, you have some that suggest that there could have been an over exploitation of natural resources, and heavy reliance on charcoal may have played a role, while others have said it could have been a number of different possibilities, including climate change. Here we go again. Pandemic, an invasion, epidemic, or famine. But again, you have to understand that the disappearance of this great society kind of vanished almost all at once. The Nok civilization left a remarkable cultural legacy for people that followed them after. And this is maybe the reasons why you have certain societies after them that kind of followed in their footsteps to try to rebuild what they try to put in place. And also their legal system, which is a legal system that was practiced here in North America by the original indigenous beings. So you can see how history kind of gets into itself in terms of how people try to copy something that isn't theirs, take it over, and then try to become the people that they are. And so this older than Kemet, highly advanced, mysterious, ancient civilization known as Nok people, and we don't really have their real names, so we're going to have to really follow up on that. They were remarkable. And again, they left a civilization of cultural legacy for people that followed them after. But there are still many questions. Still many questions about what happened to them. About the Nok and how they disappeared. The true purpose and nature of the unique and mysterious terracotta statues. Everything that they left in their wake. This is Ronnie McLean. Dark Matter Radio. With another program, Older Than Kemet, a highly advanced, mysterious, ancient civilization. Look out for it on Dark Matter Radio, the YouTube channel Dark Matter Radio. And, join in. INNA, United Front Line, radio station for North America. So for you, and with you. Your host,